Thanks for clicking on the link. You're going to be so glad you did because I've got a phenomenal idea today. And it's very reminiscent of another idea I saw years and years ago. And I want to tell you about that. But I want to set the stage here because we're in a very, very special time. And this stock is poised just right to benefit from multiple movements and major trends that are taking place on Wall Street. This little stock that I said it reminds me of was called CMGI, and you probably have never heard of them because they've disappeared since time, but not before they were the winningest stock on Wall Street. That stock went on to split and be the only company to ever do so 8 straight quarters in a row, and in the meantime also had 3 spinoffs. So people invested in CMGI absolutely made a fortune. And here we are today, they're virtually non-existent. But this company that I'm speaking about today actually sits perfectly right in the epicenter of a major, major trend. And I'll tell you, that's AI. You've probably already got the AI bug if you rode NVIDIA or watched the news about Oracle or CAMT or watched Tesla talking a lot about how AI was coming into their world. But a lot of investors are scrambling. They don't really know where to go. They don't know who's going to take the lead or what's going to take the lead in what following industries, sort of imitating industries of NVIDIA. I think it's worth noting that the company I want to tell you about actually just signed an agreement with NVIDIA. And I believe it's an area, and one of the correspondents on CNN actually said herself that she thought this was the #1 area for AI that would benefit both investors and humanity the absolute most, and I agree with her. This is the area, are you ready? Of genome sequencing. Now, before you swipe, I know genome is so scientific and so medical. Don't swipe, especially if you're younger. We heard about genome sequencing back in the 90s. They completed the first genome sequencing read, which is, a human genome is just all of the DNA of one person, but they completed that one genome sequence in 2003. And it took 13 years. It cost $3 billion. But here we are 22 years later, and it costs less than $600, and it takes less than 48 hours. So we have come a long way. And in that process, the company that emerged as the leader in genome sequencing was a company called Illumina. Not Illuminati, Illumina. And Illumina's stock symbol is ILMN. You've got to look at this company. They're not a penny stock. They're not an unknown. Wall Street knows who this company is. They are a $16 billion market cap. They've got $4 billion in revenues. You've already seen their products, in fact. They are the ones who sell genome sequencing to 23andMe, and they were also the company that sold the genome sequencing to the mRNA vaccine companies. That's where all of their initial funds came from, or where their initial revenues came from. And they also have sold to a plethora of other scientific medical companies trying to take the lead in this fast-growing market. So what happened is that since they emerged as the leader, they are now the go-to company, and that remains even today. But in this process, back in 2014, they made a mistake, actually 2 mistakes, and it showed you, though, their true potential. Really, really dynamic, explosive company that's standing right in the middle of a Wall Street tidal wave. See, what happened is that although they were selling genome sequencing products, internally they developed a small division that was focused on detecting cancer, and they were successful, and people began to notice. But for some reason, Illumina decided to spin this company off, and the name of the company was Grail, as in Holy Grail. GRAL is now the current symbol, but by the way, they spun them off, and when they spun them off, 2 mammoth investors took notice, and that was Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. So when they came in, things really started to accelerate with Grail. And Illumina was looking over their shoulder thinking, I'm sure, what have we done? Because the success was almost immediately realized. A few years later, though, Illumina made their second great mistake. They decided to buy the company back, and they became fixated on this purchase, so fixated that they were willing to pay a price that I think Grail thought they would never pay, and that was $8 billion. Just an obnoxious, obscene amount of money. And it ended up, after penalties that came from the EU and the US, they just overreached, overextended, went even past regulations and threats of fines, and ended up paying $10 billion. Well, so people are thinking, Illumina, just get on with business, just develop your other divisions. But they were fixated. They had to make this purchase, and when they did, Carl Icahn took notice. Now, Carl, if you know anything about Carl Icahn, you do not want to be a CEO of a company that he comes after, because he will buy up your shares and he'll bring all his buddies. He'll get shareholders to turn against you, and then he'll tell you how you're going to run your company. And that's exactly what he did. But he went into this sort of proxy fight with Illumina, and the CEO of Illumina was just obstinate, just refusing to back down. And well, 3 years later, it cost him his job. Carl got that guy out, put one of his own guys in, got a new CEO assigned, and now he's in there saying, all right, we're going to clean this company up. And now things are starting to roll. Now the earnings are getting interesting, because for the first time this past quarter, they made money. And now Wall Street's eyeballing this, saying these guys actually are not only going to maintain their leadership, but what are the other potentials here? Now, let me give you a couple of potentials, like the vision of what's going to probably take place in the field of genome sequencing. This product that Grail developed, one test will tell you if you've got any cancer. One test, any cancer. I think it's $250 now. One test. So you can imagine the demand for that product. So if you're going to get tested for skin cancer, why not test for all cancers, just to make sure it's not a metastasized cancer? So you're going to see demand for that product. But also internally, imagine a world of genome sequencing. Imagine that you can develop a plant that's resistant to the conditions of the desert. Imagine that you can make sure that water is pure, in every case, that you can guarantee a purified water system. Imagine that you have a substance that's thin as paper but strong as steel. Imagine that you can change the embryonic structure of a child to make him more athletic. Maybe imagine being able to grow hair, or go from horrible vision to perfect vision, or developing better skin tone, or changing your eye color, or making you immune to virtually every disease on the planet. This is where Illumina is, and nobody knows for sure which direction it goes in, but they know kind of where it's going. This is the opportunity. And again, Wall Street knows who this company is. $16 billion, $4 billion in revenue, market leader, backers like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, new CEO in, motivated investors. Who knows what divisions are under that they're keeping close to their breast. You have no idea where this company is going to be going, but believe me, this company has explosive growth. I mean, think about it. If you could buy a company that gave you the option of getting old, would you buy that stock? You better. I'll be on this camera telling you, buy that stock, because that is an explosive opportunity. And I think overall, Illumina stands to be the big winner over time here. So go have a look at it, and I'll try to post more follow-ups and updates.